Welcome to the Academic Writing Amplified podcast. On this podcast, we believe that the culture of academia needs to change radically. Women and non-binary people are revolutionizing academia within institutions that were not built for us. If you're ready to reject the culture of overwork, kick guilt and overwhelm to the curb, and amplify your voice to make a real impact on your field without breaking down or burning out, you're in the right place. With our team of experienced writing coaches as co-hosts, we'll share insights and talk to inspiring guests to bring you the practical strategies, systems, and mindset shifts you need to find time to write, publish work you love, and design your career on your terms. And it all starts with writing. Let's go. Hello, and welcome back to the Academic Writing Amplified podcast. I'm your host, Kathy Mazak, and today we're talking about capacity building. A really good hands-on example for you. Here's one example. I'm recording this podcast in my car. I'll explain what that has to do with capacity building during this episode, so you can be listening for that explanation. Before I get started, I wanted to let you know that as of today, we are officially promoting our next cohort of Navigate. We are open for enrollment and would love to have you join, would love to see an application from you. You can go to scholarsvoice.org/navigate and read all about it. We updated the beautiful page with even more information, so go check it out. If you want to apply for this upcoming cohort or even for like a future cohort, we accept applications now, even if you know like, okay, I'm not going to do this until spring, then just go to scholarsvoice.org/navigate, click the apply now button and fill out the quick application, and that will start you in the application process. Can't wait to hear from you. Okay, so today's episode about capacity building is inspired by my own current quest for capacity building and also by some of the conversations I've had with people who are thinking about joining the Navigate program. So this episode will serve for, if you're having some of the thoughts that I'm going to describe about Navigate, this will help you to kind of think about it. But even just like if you're thinking about any kind of big decision, trying to time any kind of career decision or career move, I think this capacity building episode will help you. So capacity building is something that I recently have named, I guess. I haven't named it. It's not my name. It comes from life coach Stacey Bayman, and I'm an avid listener of her podcast. And she did this little kind of week-long training about capacity building, about expanding your capacity. And I was really when she talked about it on her podcast, it intrigued me enough to sign up for the little mini program. And let me tell you, it has been a real exercise in self-coaching and has really helped me, gave me more vocabulary to think about things that I'm experiencing right now. So let me explain what capacity building means. Your capacity, right, is kind of like your container size, what you can do, like your capacity in the situation of most of you, like your capacity for your academic work or your capacity for whatever different things you're trying to accomplish in your life. And this idea of expanding capacity is the belief that you have control over how much you can do. So you can actively, consciously, thoughtfully work to expand your capacity for more in your life, more in your job, more in your family. And I'm going to give some examples. Let me give the first example is, I think, a pretty straightforward one. These are personal examples, so they might not apply to you, but I hope that they help explain what this means. So an example of increasing your capacity, or I'll say an example of increasing my capacity, was every time I had an additional child. So when I had my first child, I really thought, this is so hard. There is no way that I could do more than this. And, there's the jokes around about humans being kind of like programmed to forget those thoughts. And then you end up having other children, right? Or you wouldn't be able to have other children, or you wouldn't think about it if you didn't, forget those feelings. But at the beginning, that first kid, when you're going from 0 to 1, it really is like you test the limits of what's possible, right? You're trying to, at least for me. So let me make it specific to me, because I know not all of you have children and might not have known this experience. But for me, what happened, and everybody's parenting experience is also different. For me, what happened was this little being took up so much of my energy and mental space and sleep and all of these things, right? That, pre that child, I think, what did I do? Like, what was I doing with all of my time? And I think that those of you who have had a kid maybe can relate to this. It's like, what did I do before this kid? Like, how did I pass a weeknight? How did I pass the weekends? Like, what the heck was I doing? Because you just feel like the child right now takes up all of your time, but not just all of your time, all of your energy and your thoughts, right? And so you expand your capacity when you have that additional childcare responsibility. And I'm sure that that's true for all kinds of care responsibilities. And you think, like, I couldn't do more than this. And yet I had a second child about 3 years later. And I once again expanded my capacity to do my life, right? Like, I could take care of the 3-year-old and the newborn. Like, I could, provide meals for them and my family and myself. I somehow, was able to continue to expand this capacity, my capacity for love, right? One of my fears, like, honestly, one of my fears about parenting and about having more children was actually that, like, do I have, like, people say that your capacity for love just like exponentially grows, but when you have the first one, you just can't even imagine what it would be like to actually grow your capacity for love even more. And I have 3 children. So I continued to expand and grow my capacity to do things, to care for people, to love. And truthfully, like, through all of that time, I continued to expand and grow in my career as well. So I'm offering you that as an example of growing capacity, of what it kind of means, right? So I don't think that with my children, I did very intentional capacity building work. But now, here's another example, okay? So now, in my life right now, I have had to do very intentional capacity building work. If you're a listener to this podcast, and I'm sorry, like that, I'm sorry I got to record in the car, but I'm coming to that part. I'm going to explain it in a minute. I probably just heard my hybrid car turn on, but anyway, sorry about that. But here's another example. Like, this year I would say this 18 months, but it's almost a whole year. This past 18 to 12 months have been the most difficult of my life. And I think that's saying a lot, because I really thought that parenting small children was real hard. But this last year and a half, where we have, if you listened to the podcast before, you might have heard one of my episodes where I talk about our new farm. And in my old episodes, or if you were ever in my programs, like during COVID or anything, you knew that we lived on 10 acres, like a little 10-acre farm. And we had anywhere between 4 and 12 cows on the farm at different times. Well, in October of 2023, we had the opportunity to take over, to buy, to acquire a 200-acre working dairy farm with over 350 head of cattle on it. And it's about 45 minutes to an hour, really like a good solid hour away from the 10-acre farm where we had built our dream home that we designed from scratch and everything. Like, we were like not planning to leave that place. And then this opportunity came up, and for better or for worse, we decided to do it. And, I think there's a general consensus that small scale farming is hard. It's really hard. Like, it's really hard. I did not grow up on a farm. My husband did, but it wasn't a dairy farm. And we're also both working our jobs. Like, he's a professor. I do this for a living. We're parenting the 3 kids. Like, there's a lot going on. And we took on this business that we really had to make work so it can pay its own bills, right? And that has just been the biggest challenge ever. And it really tested the limits of my capacity. So much so that I needed to intentionally work on expanding my capacity. And what that means is just like, in this case, in the case of expanding my capacity to handle my own business and the farm business, what I had to do was, maybe what you can imagine. I had to put boundaries on some things. I had to really work on changing my thoughts around the work that I was doing. So I found myself in these like negative thought spirals, like, this is so hard, I'll never be able to do it. Thoughts like, I hate this, like, I don't want to have anything to do with it, like really, really negative, quitting kind of thoughts around the farm business. And that's when I took this Stacey Bateman's capacity building mini program, because I was like, I gotta figure this out, because I can't keep thinking this way, because it's stopping me from being able to actually do more. And I'm not the teacher of capacity building. I'm just going to relate my experience to you through the work that I did there, and really thinking about, okay, what are the thoughts I need to have? Where do I need to look in my life for examples of when I have built capacity previously? And there are many. This, academic coaching business has gone through rough times. And I rebuilt it and came out on the other side. And I'm doing that, or I'm assisting my husband in doing that in our farm business, in like going through rough times and rebuilding. And I had to really think about that and rely on, I have done it before, and it is harder now. It is all in Spanish. It is culturally different than what I know in business, right? Because I'm very used to like the online business space where, transactions all happen digitally and everything happens digitally, and it's not very in person. But the farm is so in person. Like, it is like so tactile. It's like paper checks and cash transactions. And, like, we ran out of feed and we got to have the feed truck come. And like, these things, I have to like call that in advance. Like, it takes time for that to happen. Animals are born, animals die. It's like a very much more in-person business, a very different. And I had to learn all of that. We had to learn all of that. So that took me really thinking I could do it, right? And really thinking about like, well, how do I find the time to do it? How do I want to bound my time in different ways so that I have time for the farm stuff? And I'll give you a very, very specific example that I've given before. If you've coached with me, if you're in one of my programs, you might have heard this example before. When I first started at the farm and I was doing payroll, it would take me 3 to 5 hours, like maybe like 2 hours on one day and 3 hours on the next day. And it would be the most stressful thing that I did in the week. Just so much fear that I was going to screw things up. And it was weekly. Payroll is weekly on the farm. There's a lot of employees. So a lot of things could go wrong. And I was relying on the accountant to tell me the amounts I needed to pay. And sometimes they wouldn't give me those amounts on time for me to run the transactions. And I was just like so freaked out about it. And it was just emotionally really hard. And it was also like at the very, very beginning, I wasn't relying on the accountant. I was using this really, really old computer and really, really old software that one of the reasons it was hard is that would crash. And I didn't know, like if I made a mistake, I didn't know how to correct mistakes in the software. And I was working on a computer that was from 2012 with a server from 2009. And, I'm a Mac girl. So like, I didn't know how to use these computers and I didn't know how to use the software. I couldn't troubleshoot anything. like I couldn't ask anybody for help, or there weren't like a lot of people I could ask for help. And it was an absolutely torturous experience. Oh, and I had to go in person. So like, because these physical computers would like sometimes crash and need to be restarted, like I would have to drive from my home in Mayaguez, where I was living, to the farm in Lajas, which was a good 45-minute drive, and back. And, here I am used to being like running my business, rolling out of bed and doing my work in my pajamas and never having to leave my house. And now I had to drive to the farm office in order to use the computers there and run payroll. Now, when I was doing that in the very beginning of taking over the farm, like I said, it was torturous and horrible, and I hated it. And I, like I do with everything, right? I shaped it into what I wanted it to be. I was like, okay, these computers, there's got to be another way. And I worked with the accountants until we figured out another way. And the accountants would do that computer work and provide me with the pay stubs. And then I would run the transactions in the bank account thingy. The bank account thingy was super horrible, stressful until I really mastered it. So mastering it, and part of what I did to master all of these things was write myself detailed instructions so that I could go step by step. And I made sure that the whole thing could happen whether I was physically at the farm or on a computer someplace else. So that took, 6 months, 8 months. And also we ended up deciding to get rid of most all of our employees and then hiring back a much, much smaller team, which made payroll easier actually, right? Because it's fewer people. And so now I can say that payroll is one of the easiest things that I do. I just log in to a computer system that I vetted and found and had installed, which is our you call it un ponchador in Spanish. It's I can't think of what's called in English, but it's where you put your finger, like when the employees get there, that reads their fingerprint and they clock in. It's like they clock in and clock out, right? So that's all now digital. I can see it all from home. I generate a report from there. I send it to the CPA. The CPA sends me the pay stubs, and then I run the transactions, and that's it. So it takes me maybe 5 minutes one day, 15 minutes the next day. The whole shebang takes me 20 minutes a week. And the best part is that it is not stressful. That is not stressful. There's plenty of other stressful things, but that's not one of them. I have increased my capacity to handle payroll. And I did it by changing my thoughts about it, by instead of saying woe is me, this is so hard, which I did say for quite a long time. Then I figured out how to take action to change it so it wasn't so hard. And, now it is easy. So all of this is to say that another part of capacity building, right, is that I used to run one business, which I thought was a lot of work. And now I run 2 businesses. And just like I used to have 1 kid, now I have 3 kids, and I have increased my capacity to be able to do all of these things. Now, what I'm not talking about with increasing capacity is I'll just take on more work and more work and more work, and it will add more and more stress and more hours to my day. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about increasing your ability to make everything that you want to do happen in the amount of time that you want it to happen. So I'm not asking you, and would never ask you, to work more hours in order to get your writing and publishing done, right? That's not what I'm about. And instead, I designed the Navigate program, right, to teach you how to build capacity around your writing and publishing, so that teach you how to write a mission statement and align your work behind that, and corral work and use time blocking and cut things out and have a system for saying no, have a better decision making. And all of that increases your capacity for writing and publishing. Now, I'll give another little more generic example, and then I'll move on to just specifically speak to Navigate and why you might be thinking about timing Navigate wrong. So my specific example is, now think on your life. It's not a specific example, it's a call for your reflection. Now think in your life, where are areas in your life where you have increased capacity? Where you used to be really stressed out about X, and now you are doing X times 5, and it's not stressing you out more. You're handling it. Maybe I'll prompt your thoughts a little bit. When you first got to your tenure track job and you had all new preps and you had a whole new grading system to learn, you had the whole new culture of the department to learn, all of those things, they took up all of your time and your energy and your thoughts. But as you got used to them and as they became more part of your life, and maybe as you put boundaries around things and made better decisions, all of that then becomes kind of old hat, second nature. And your capacity for more has increased. And now think about how many more things you do. Now teaching that, 101 class is no big deal. You could do it in your sleep. And now you have the capacity for more. Okay. So think about it. In your life, where has your capacity increased? Now, I want to apply this thought about capacity building directly to how I know that some of you are thinking about Navigate. So some of you are not joining Navigate because you feel like you don't have the capacity to do it. Like when people ask me, how long does Navigate take? Like, what's the time commitment? I say 2 hours a week. 1 hour for the call, 1 hour for the lesson. Maybe 3 hours if you want to do some extra writing while you're in the program, right? So 2 hours a week, minimum, solid 2 hours a week. And some of you are thinking, I don't have the time to do Navigate, or actually, I don't have the capacity to do Navigate. I'm teaching 3 new preps. I just got this little grant, whatever else. I anticipate this thing that's going to happen this semester. Maybe we're doing accreditation or assessment or something. And it's like another layer of stuff I got to do. And you're like, no, I'll do Navigate in a semester in which I have more capacity. And I'm here to tell you that you are never granted capacity. You create capacity. You are never just granted capacity. You build it. And what you want, the reason that you want to join Navigate, is to create more capacity for writing and publishing, right? I mean, that's the purpose of the program, is to publish your backlog of papers, is to create more capacity for writing and publishing, which you know you need and want, and many of you deeply desire for your career. Well, if you want to do that, you cannot wait for some capacity to be bestowed upon you. It doesn't work that way. In fact, joining Navigate is the way that you will create the capacity for the writing and publishing that you want to do. The program is built to help you build capacity. So if you're waiting on I'm going to wait till that semester where I teach a 2-1, so I'm going to do it in my semester that I only teach 1. Or I think X, Y, or Z is going to happen, making my semester harder right now, so I'm going to do it next semester. And I'm watching you. I can see I can see all the times you've interacted with the things that I do, right? So I can see that so many of you who joined the last cohort of Navigate had gone to 2 or 3 information sessions. So you've been actively thinking about joining Navigate for a year, 18 months, at least 6 months, and waiting and waiting. And I think that some of you are waiting for magical extra capacity. And I want you to know that that's not how it works. You are not granted additional capacity. You build it. It's an intentional set of choices and strategies and skills that you build. And I think, if you want to take it back to the farm example, at first I was I wasn't doing a very good job of building capacity, but what I was going to say was that I was forced to have capacity that I didn't anticipate. The thing about the farm, it was running when we bought it. It was running and making money when we bought it. A bunch of things happened that we couldn't have anticipated. And so I didn't think that my role on the farm was going to be what it ended up being. Like neither of us thought that. We didn't realize in the weeds how very deeply in the weeds we would have to be. So additional capacity was required of me. And when I wasn't intentionally building it, I was just a stressed out mess. And just like I neglected my business. I was just running on like super high levels of cortisol. It was just a mess until I like got my footing a little bit and was like, no, I need to actively build capacity to take this on. And you can do that. And guess what? When you do that for Navigate, when you're like, okay, this semester looks like it's going to be a holy mess. Like every semester, something weird is going to happen. You know, like it's not going to be ideal. When you do Navigate anyway, when you use the tools in Navigate, you will expand your capacity for writing and publishing, which is the whole point. So the point is sign up for Navigate, even though it's going to be a mess of a semester, because that's exactly how you're going to build more capacity. Because am I right? Like it's never not a mess of a semester. There's rarely a semester that's like, wow, that semester was so relaxing. Said no academic ever. So instead of that, instead of waiting for a semester that we anticipate is going to be less stressful than other semesters and previously have been, do Navigate now and build that capacity because you're going to need it. You're going to need it. If your goal is to write and publish more, to publish that backlog of papers. So those are my thoughts around capacity building. I will keep you posted on how my capacity building is going, but I want you to know that more capacity is available to you. It's an intentional process to build it, and you have done it before. You have done it before in other areas of your life. I invite you to think about where. So this was just to share a little bit about kind of where I am right now in my own kind of professional and personal life, but also to tell you, if you're like watching these Navigate enrollment periods go by and just thinking, yeah, but it's not that great of a semester, I'll do it next time. Like it's time to do it now because you will actually get a more benefit out of the program by doing it in a semester where it's a mess and you show up anyway. That is how you increase capacity. And that is something, again, that like can't be taken from you once you do that. If you have a semester that's a holy mess and you show up to the coaching calls every Friday, that's how you increase your capacity to handle things in your career. And you will only be asked to handle more. I'm sorry to tell you, but you know that. I don't have to tell it to you. All right. If you are interested in Navigate this round, please go ahead. We are enrolling right now. Go to scholarsvoice.org/navigate, read it, everything, get all that information that you need, and I will be waiting for your application. We have a multi-step application process, and during the application process, you will be invited, if you choose to, make a call with me, and we can talk about this specifically. You know, like if you're like, well, I don't know, you're telling me that I should do it even though I don't feel like I have the capacity, book a call with me. Apply, book a call, we'll work it out, and I will be honest with you. And you can tell me all the things that are going on and all the reasons that it's the wrong time to do it. And I will be honest with you. I have told people before, yeah, this isn't your semester, but many times what you really need is a little more capacity building, and it's going to unlock like totally new levels for you. And that's what I want for you. All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you so much for spending your valuable time supporting yourself and your writing by listening to this episode. If you like what you heard today, the best way to say thank you is to hop on over to Apple iTunes and write an honest review. The more reviews, the more amazing academic women and non-binary people will find this podcast. So go write one now.